Hey guys, Scheming Off the Grid here. Did you hear that? Sega is making a comeback. What? The Sega Genesis Mini is on the way. They have announced 10 of the 40 games that are going to be on the console. Today we are going to talk about the top 5 games that we want to see on the Sega Genesis Mini. What are we drinking today?
Today we're drinking 2 different beers. Wow, I know. Today we're drinking 2 stouts by Central Waters Brewing Company. Our friend Captain Algebra gave these to us.
All right, you know the drill. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring that bell icon so you never miss an upload. And sit back, relax, pour yourself a beer if you care to, and let's talk about good old Sega!
Hey everybody, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and you're watching Gaming Off the Grid. Remember, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
All right, here we go. The Sega Genesis Mini, or the Sega Genesis Classic, whatever you want to call it, is on the horizon, and for some reason, we feel like Sega is going to get it right this time. Yes. AT Games is out of the picture, and Sega has brought this project in-house. They've announced 10 games already, but we want to talk about the top 5 games that we think are essential to make this a success. So go ahead, start with number 5.
Number 5, Troubleshooter. This game is a one-person, awesome, fantastic shmup. And we have talked about this game before. We did our top 5 shmups, and our good friend Baltimore Retro Gamer, this was his all-time favorite shmup of all time, and this game is so sweet.
Yes, yeah, and per his recommendation and one of our buddies, we had never played this game growing up, but we have recently discovered it, and you are more of a person kind of hovering.
Yeah, you have like a jetpack,
yeah,
kind of, and you're just shooting, and it's really sweet.
It's a really, really cool game, and we love side-scrolling shooters, and this game really hits that niche for us. So fingers crossed, really hoping that it makes the Sega Genesis Classic.
This is, out of all the games on our list, this one is probably like a pipe dream. The rest of them will probably make it, but this one, I just am not 100% confident that this will be on it, as much as I want it to be.
I really think in the bottom of my heart that 2019 is the year of Sega.
Yes.
I don't know why, but they've messed so many things up. They've tarnished their brand so much, but it feels like they're going to get some things right. Like we have these controllers that we're going to talk about at the end of the episode, but I think that this year is the year of Sega. I think they're going to make a comeback.
I was at a Chinese restaurant a couple days ago, and you know how it's like the year of the dragon, the year of the mouse, the year of the whatever animal. I was literally there, and on the menu it said 2019, year of the Sega, and I was blown away too. I was doubtful, but it said that. So I definitely think this is the year of Sega, and I don't know why I think this, but I think they're gonna bring back the Sega Channel.
They're not going to bring back the Sega Channel.
Alright, and the number 4th game on our list is Rocket Knight Adventures. This is a fantastic platformer, and it is so much fun.
It is a great game, and this game was brought to our attention in a episode with a friend of ours, Brian, who brought this game into our lives. We hadn't played it growing up, like a lot of Genesis stuff. We've said a lot of times we weren't Genesis kids.
No, we weren't.
First Sega console I owned was the Dreamcast, but this game is a great platformer. It's got great mechanics. You're this awesome possum.
Oh, it's opossum.
Well, tomato, potato, patata. Who's keeping track? But anyways, it's a lot of fun. The sprites are great. As far as a platforming game, think in the realm of like Rayman or Donkey Kong Country, that type of stuff. If you're into those type of games, I think you would really like this game. And this is a game that over the years, it's a game by Konami, who did a lot of great things during this era, that has just kind of lost its way and doesn't have the mystique or the legend behind it that a lot of those other platformers do. So fingers crossed that Rocket Knight Adventures winds up on the Sega Genesis Classic Mini. And the number 3 game we hope to see on the Sega Genesis Classic Mini is Musha. It is a vertical scrolling shmup, but we had a long debate about what was going to take this slot for us.
Yes, I just want to put in parentheses, Thunder Force 4. It is another shooter, and it was so hard to pick, but I think Musha wins.
Yeah, it's tough because it's weird, but I think we probably lean both towards side-scrolling shooters.
Yes, instead of vertical.
But Thunder Force 4, although it's great in all its glory, is a very similar, I guess, to Gradius R-Type-ish type of graphics and feel, and the vertical scrolling shmup is something that just is represented so well in Musha. And we have 2 shmups on this with Troubleshooter and Musha.
Yeah.
Very important genres to us. We're not very good at them, but we love those games.
So much fun.
Yeah, it's just something about, I think, the art style that really draws us in.
Yeah, and Musha has a fantastic art style. I love how like some of the bullets like are so big and it's so colorful, and it's so visually pleasing, and it's such a sweet game.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of shmups, it might sound weird, but I liken them to like an art piece. They're very artistic.
Yes, they are.
And the colors are so vibrant. They just kind of take you away for a little bit. And Musha really does that. So fingers crossed that we at least get a shmup, if not
just
2,
one
if not 3, on the Sega Genesis Classic. And the number 2 game we hope to see on this awesome collection is
Splatterhouse 3. This game, I don't know if it's technically called a beat 'em up, but it is a beat 'em up. You're like this big buff dude with a Jason Voorhees mask, and you're just like going through this house trying to save your family, I think, and it is badass.
Yeah, it's got a really cool story. So anybody who thinks like beat 'em ups, like, oh, the stories, they're not really there, you know, just kind of button mashing. Well, whatever. There's a story here, and you have this vibe and this pacing. You got to get through the game as fast as you can, because the slower you go, the more people die,
yes,
or the more things that happen to your family.
Yeah, you'll lose your son or you'll lose your wife, and it's just like, Kevin McAllister, you're trying to save him.
Yeah, it's really good graphics. The gameplay is just awesome. It's another game that holds up very well today. So Sega, please, if there's anybody out there, can we get some Splatterhouse on the Sega Genesis Classic? And let's go to number 1.
Number 1. All the games on our list have been one-player games, and this game, we're a co-op channel. This game is co-op, and it is Contra Hard Corps.
Yes, dude! Contra has taken our lives by storm. We have our mini-series, and full disclosure, we are mediocre at best at Contra.
But it's so much fun.
But we love it! Yeah, it's so amazing. And the cool thing about Hard Corps is, A, we never played it back in the day. So we've like circled the wagons, we've dabbled in it, and we're 2 episodes out in our series from actually getting to that game and having to like actually show that we can beat it, right? But the game is really cool. It is the only game in the series up to that point that we know of anyway that has kind of a branching paths system with different endings. Yeah,
which is really cool, because there's a lot of games where like you memorize the pattern and that's how you beat it. The only game that I can kind of think that has a similar outcome is Until Dawn, where like it was like the butterfly effect. There were different outcomes. It's so cool that this game has that, and it was for the Genesis.
Yeah, back in the 16-bit era.
That's insane.
And you know, I think a lot of people remember Contra Alien Wars, which is the next game we're focusing on in our Contra series, which is, it's a fantastic game. However, there's a couple parts in it, the what I call perspective levels, or the isometric view levels, that have aged really poorly, I feel like. The rest of the game is fantastic, but there's these 2 spots that are just like, ooh, like, ew, wish we could get those out of there. Contra Hard Corps does not suffer from that. So I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it's a better game, but I think it is up for debate whether that or Alien Wars is the best Contra of the 16-bit era. I just feel like the time is right, because it wasn't on the Sega Genesis collection.
It wasn't.
And that's one thing about this project. I'm hoping the Sega Genesis collection that was just out isn't just rehashed in this.
Yeah, I really hope not, because it's like, dude, we already have all the games. We already spent the $60 or however much the game was to get it. And that collection is sweet. We still play it.
It's very cool.
But I want a different collection.
I think they need a fistful of games that are like a unique draw to this console. And Konami is kind of on a comeback as well. I feel like
they are.
So they've got this arcade collection, Castlevania collection, and Contra collection. So I don't really know how the psychology is going to work here. Like, is Konami going to hold the rights so that people are driven towards their collection, or are they just wanting to get their older games back into the hands of the modern gamer? This would be a fantastic way to do it. If you can get Contra Hard Corps in the collection or on the Sega Genesis Mini, that's a win-win for all gamers. So Konami, come on, bring us the love. We want Contra Hard Corps, man.
Speaking of love, we have 2 beers to review in this episode.
And this is a first for Gaming Off the Grid. 2 beers, 2 guys. So we're gonna review 2 beers, and I think it's a great time to do it because we got both these beers from a new friend of ours that we've really, we just met, but we've met through the interwebs prior. Captain Algebra gave us these beers. We could not be more grateful, so we figured we'd focus on 2 of them because he gave us so many beers. We figured, what the heck, let's do 2 in the episode. So I have a cherry stout.
And I have a coffee stout. I'm drinking the Peruvian Morning, and it's a coffee stout aged in bourbon barrels.
So how about you go ahead and start? We've tried both beers.
So we kind of know what to talk about.
So what do you think of that?
So I've been sipping on this all episode. It has a really good bourbon barrel taste, and it has the coffee taste really lingers, and the coffee is a really good taste. Like, if I could drink coffee that tasted like this in the morning, I'd be set. I'd be set. Well, minus the beer. Or actually, no, I'll take that minus the beer part out. I'll just, if I could drink this every morning, I'd be set. But it's so good. The only thing that I did notice about this beer is it hits you immediately with all these great flavors, but then I feel like it disappears really quickly. I wish it would linger more, like I wish there was more chew to it, but it's still really good.
The weird thing about that beer, and I don't know if this is what you thought, but somehow the only flavor that lasts is the coffee.
Yes.
Everything else goes away.
And there's not like a strong bourbon barrel taste to it. It's not super attacky. It's really smooth. It's really, but yeah, the coffee is what's.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good stout for someone kind of just getting into stouts.
Yeah, like if you like coffee and you're not a huge stout fan.
Yep.
Yeah, you should try this beer by Central Waters. It's really good.
So I have the cherry stout, and I've been sipping on it throughout the episode, and this is a fantastic brew. The cherry stout aspect is almost an afterthought. This is just a good barrel-aged stout. You can really taste that oak coming through. It really tastes like an imperial stout. It has a lot of those notes, and that cherry is just lightly scathed over the finish, and it's done really, really well. Like a cherry cordial, if you will. There's a little bit of a creaminess to it that is very, very good. I don't know a ton about this brewery. It's the first time we've ever had anything from Central Waters. But man, I tell you what, if you are a stout fan, imperial stout fan, this is really good. And if you're like maybe not hardcore into imperial stouts, I feel like that'd be a really good beer for you too. I think there's a reason he gave us a lot of beers from this brewery.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you so much, Captain. We appreciate it so much. I love trying new beers.
Yes, and if you guys haven't been over to Captain Algebra's channel, the dude is a freaking hammer. He's one of the better Contra players I have ever seen. He's definitely better than us. Our friend Ryan that we tout is like the Contra player of all time. He's better than Ryan, and Ryan would probably even admit that. But Captain, we really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, and you will forever be a friend of the channel. So cheers, brother. As we exit, you've maybe seen on the table this whole time these new Sega controllers. So we're gonna make it quick because there's tons of other YouTubers who have covered this topic, and we don't like rehashing information, and we try to be as unique as we can. But the reason we feel 2019 is the year of Sega is because of things like this. They have partnered with Retrobit. We picked these up from Castlemania Games. We are still a small channel. We're not getting any kicks. We're not getting any free things mailed to us or anything like that. These controllers are legitimate. They are packaged legitimately. Like, I don't even want to open these. I want to just hang all four of these on my wall.
They're so badass.
So they have these in variants of where you can use them on the original hardware or you can use them via USB.
And why is that important?
Well, I mean, a lot of people are playing on ROMs or RetroPies and things like that. I feel like Sega's like, you know what? We're not putting out the games in that way, so use it however you want to use it. But to get original controllers that are actually licensed by Sega in 2019
and that are good condition,
yeah, and these feel amazing. If anybody out there who's a Genesis collector or a Saturn collector, you know those controllers have not held up as well over time as, like, let's say the Super Nintendo controller or something like that.
And what's cool is I think the Sega Genesis Mini has a USB option, so you could use these controllers if you got the USB port on them, which is so cool.
Fantastic point. Now, we can't go all in on that because we don't know how, if you know, anybody who plays ROMs knows the button mapping, it's a dice roll anytime you do something like that. But there has been a little bit of a negative connotation around the Sega Genesis Classic. Like, oh, why'd they release it with the 3-button controller? Well, anyways, we're thinking possibly grab one or two of these Retrobit controllers with the USB, and then you have the 6-button controllers.
Yeah.
Maybe
Fingers
we will
crossed.
see these on the open market readily available to pair with your Sega Genesis Classic Mini. But nonetheless, we think that 2019 could be the year of Sega.
The year of Sega.
We know with AT games that Sega has shit the bed numerous times. Then we would remake the bed as fans and put nice white sheets on there, and they'd get in there and drop a hot steamer again. But for some reason, this just feels right.
Oh, it does feel
I think they're going to do it. These controllers are right. The first 10 games they announced for the Sega Genesis Classic are on point. And we think if they listen, and we'll put the 5 games we suggested on there, it is going to be a great year for Sega. And maybe, somehow, I'm even going to get tied into Robert's original thought. You may see a fortune cookie someday that says 2019, the year of Sega.
I knew I was right.
I can't even believe. How do I work with this guy?
Yeah.
Nonetheless, we appreciate you tuning in and subscribing to the channel. Keep gaming, keep drinking, and we'll see you next time right here on Gaming Off the Grid. Do you remember those commercials?
No, I don't.
That's how they ended.
They just went, Sega!
Yeah, it was just like, in Mortal Kombat, blah, 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 blah. And it was like, Sega! It's just like this crazy.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Like someone sneezed?
Yep. But it is hot in here. You know what I say when I get too hot? I am getting so hot, I want to take my clothes off. You're not safe over there. Just come back.
Yeah, as long as I'm out of the frame, I'm safe.
Just come back. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Come on. Come on.
Come in.
That's how you become a registered offender, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Ever heard of Cosby?
Stills and Nash. You ever heard of Crosby, Stills and Nash?